Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today's tutorial is for these really cute low-sew baby clowns. I like to make some of them as keychains, so you can see I've got a keychain attachment here on the back of this blue one. But they're also really cute as just little plushies, and I find they do really well at anime conventions where you may or may not find fellow clown enjoyers. So you can find all of the materials I used for this tutorial in the description, so see below, and let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to begin with that yellow color for the clown's hat. And we're going to start by forming a magic ring. And then inside of that magic ring, we're going to place 3 single crochet stitches. So when you've got those 3 single crochet stitches placed, we're going to pull the tail of our magic ring and then start in on our next round where we're going to increase in these first 3 stitches. So it's a little tight with just the 3 stitches here in this magic ring, so make sure you make your first single crochet pretty tightly. And after you make that first increase, I kind of push the inside of the hat out so it starts making that point right away. So here's my second increase and my third. So we should have 6 stitches so far. Then for round 3, we're going to start increasing by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round, and I'm going to mark that stitch as well. And then after that first single crochet, we'll place an increase in the next stitch. And then we're going to repeat that pattern 2 more times. So 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, and then our last increase. Alright, so for our next round, we're going to continue that pattern, but this time we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then increase. Then we're going to repeat that pattern 2 more times. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, increase, and then 1 more time. And you should have 12 stitches total. At this point, I like to take the magic ring tail and tuck it into the top of the hat. It acts as free stuffing and it also keeps it out of my way. And then for the next 2 rounds, we're just going to put 1 single crochet stitch in every stitch all the way around. So 2 rounds of 12 single crochet. Alright, so here's my 12th single crochet stitch in my second round of repetition, so it's that 24th stitch. And I'm actually going to finish it off with the white color because we're going to be moving to the clown's head from here. But as I finish off that color, I'm not going to cut this yellow. I'm actually going to lay it over the surface of my work because I'm going to use this yellow to make the brim of the hat, and I don't like reattaching. So I'm just going to keep it on the surface and we'll come back for it. So let's finish off that last single crochet stitch with our new color, which is white. So I like to lay a little tail here with the white behind my work and then wrap and draw through those last 2 loops with the new color. And then tighten down that yellow stitch. And then for our next row here with the white, we're going to be making them in the back loops only. And we're going to follow that repetition pattern of 1 single crochet and then an increase. So in the back loop only of these yellow stitches of the hat, we're going to place our first single crochet stitch. So 1 single crochet. I'm also going to mark that stitch. And then in the next back loop, I'm going to increase. And then I'm going to repeat that pattern 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions, all in the back loops of this round. Alright, so that wraps up that round with white. For the next round, we're going to continue increasing by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then an increase. And then we're going to repeat that pattern of 2 single crochet, increase 5 more times until we're all the way around. Alright, so I am all the way around, and at this point I like to make the brim of the hat so I don't have this yellow continue to be attached to my work. So I'm going to pull the loop on my hook up long so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to leave that stitch marker in, but I'm going to kind of flip it out of my way. And then we're ready to attach the brim with the yellow that we left attached. So first we need to rotate it so that the hat is pointing upwards. And then we're going to be working around this direction. And we need to fasten on right where that yarn comes out and in the closest front loop that we left behind that we can get to. So that should be that very last one that you made. We're going to go through, so slip our hook from underneath and kind of come up towards the top of the hat. Then grab that yellow and wrap it around our hook and pull through. And then I'm going to start tensioning, and I need to chain 2 stitches. So that first wrap and pull through doesn't really count. You'll have to chain 2 more stitches. And then we're going to place a half double crochet in that same front loop that we just chained out of. So to half double crochet, we'll yarn over, so wrap the yarn around our hook, go through that same front loop, yarn over and draw through the front loop, and then yarn over and draw through all 3 of those half double crochet stitches. And then we're going to continue adding just 1 half double crochet stitch to every front loop all the way around to be the brim of the clown's hat. Alright, so I'm in my very last front loop stitch, and it's kind of hard to see. I find if I pull the second to last front loop stitch, it helps kind of reveal where that stitch is. You can also dig your hook underneath it and loosen it up a little bit so that it's easier to go through when you're ready to half double crochet. So I'm going to put that last half double crochet stitch in, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 2 that we made to start this round. So slip stitching here. Try to get both loops of that top chain. And then we'll slip stitch by yarning over and drawing through the top of that chain, and then just keep drawing through. And that wraps up the brim of the hat, so we can fasten the yellow off, which is great because it gets it out of the way. We don't have to worry about it while we're working the rest of the clown. And then I'm going to pull that last slip stitch through and tighten. And then you can weave this in here, but I like to weave all my ends in at the same time, so I kind of wrap it around the hat so it stays out of my way. Alright, so we're ready to continue here in on the clown's head, so we can reinsert our hook into that loop and draw it back down. And for the head, we need to make 4 rounds of just regular single crochet. So 1 single crochet stitch in every stitch for 4 rounds total. So I will catch you back here whenever I have wrapped up that 4th round of single crochet. Alright, so I just wrapped up my 4th round of single crochet, and I'm ready to start decreasing. So I'm going to go ahead and start by placing 1 single crochet stitch in the first 2 stitches of the round. So there's my first, and here's my second. And then we're going to decrease by single crocheting 2 stitches together. So we'll go through the next stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop, and then do the same thing in the stitch right after, and then draw through all 3. That's how I like to decrease. So we're going to repeat that sequence another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Alright, so for the next round we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round, and then a decrease next. And then just like before, we're going to repeat this sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Alright, so I like to add the safety eyes here, so I'm going to take this last loop on my hook and pull it up long, and then flip my clown's head over so that I have the stitch marker and my active loop at the back. I like to add the eyes to this side because it avoids that seam on the hat. Not that it looks bad necessarily, but it looks better if it's at the back of the clown. So let's go ahead and get our safety eyes. Alright, so I have my safety eyes, and I'm going to be using these painted ones, and if you'd like to use the same ones, I have the link in my description so you can get yourself a set. I like to place them squarely between the 2 and 2 rounds of single crochet. So we did 4 rounds of those. I like to put them right in between that second and third round. So if you count down from the brim of the hat, that first round of single crochet in white, we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4. So in between that 4th and 5th row, we'll place our eyes. And I think that they look really cute when they're fairly close together, so no more than like 2 to 3 stitches apart, because the nose is going to go right in between them. And let me show you what that looks like depending on where you've placed the eyes. So we're going to be using one of these red pom-poms, and it's about 1 centimeter in thickness. We're going to be using one of these as the clown's nose. So if you put the eyes really close together, I find it looks very cute. The further apart you put the eyes, I feel like it looks less cute with the nose in between. But again, it's up to you. Maybe you have a larger size pom-pom. For reference, here's another pom-pom that's about 1.5 centimeters in width. It's orange, but it's still pretty cute, so the further apart you move the eyes, just keep in mind how big the pom-pom is that you're going to be using. I also make really large clowns, and I have a pom-pom that's twice the size of the one that I would be using for this. So if you wanted your clown to have a really big nose, just keep that in account whenever you're placing your eyes, because if we place them too close together, the nose won't fit between. Alright, so once you've got your eyes placed where you'd like, we can go ahead and snap the plastic backs on the back of them. Alright, so there are the plastic backs snapped on. I'm also going to stuff the clown and the hat at this point. So let's start by getting some stuffing up to the tip of the clown's hat. Once I've got the tip of the hat stuffed, I'm ready to go ahead and stuff the inside of the head. So while you're stuffing the inside of the head, be really careful that you don't accidentally push our active stitch or your stitch marker inside. I'm notorious for doing that. And then double check that the stems of the eyes are sitting correctly so the eyes are flush with the head. I like to stretch away from where the eyes are, so like kind of making the head more oval or oblong in shape. And once I've done that, I'll add just a little bit more stuffing where I pulled the stuffing apart. Alright, so that's the head stuffed. Let's continue adding on some crochet here. So we're going to reinsert our hook, draw the loop back down. And then for this round, we're going to be decreasing in the back loops only. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out, and we're going to decrease in every stitch, back loop only, all the way around. So 6 decreases in the back loops only. I'll see you on that last one. Alright, so here's my last decrease, but I need to change colors, and I'm going to change to the color of the body here. So I'm going to cut this white with a little bit of a tail, and I'll weave that tail in as I go. And I'm going to be making this clown sort of this light pink color. So I will pull through that last decrease with my new color. So I like my tails to be about the same length, so I'll lay the pink alongside the white here. And I'm going to wrap and draw through those 3 loops in my new color. And then you can tighten down that stitch by pulling the white and pulling the pink tail. Alright, so for this next round, we're going to put 3 single crochet stitches in each stitch, each decrease that we just made. So I like to weave my tails in for the first stitch here, or the first 3. So I'm going to hold those behind my work, and I'm going to go through that decrease and grab both the tails and the stitch itself. There's my first single crochet stitch, so I'll go ahead and mark that. And I'll continue. I need to put 2 more single crochet stitches in that same space. And I've got those tails worked in for those 3 stitches, so I'm going to kind of twist them and then tuck them inside of the clown's head. Get them out of my way. Alright, so we're going to continue adding single crochet stitches, 3 of them in each of the 6 stitches from the clown's head. Alright, so that was my last single crochet stitch. We're ready to move on to our next round, where we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the first 2 stitches of the round. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then an increase in the next stitch. And then we're going to repeat that sequence of 2 single crochet increase 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions. Alright, that was my last increase. At this point, I like to add the collar on next, so I'm going to take this loop on my hook and pull it long, and then flip my stitch marker out of the way. And the collar is going to be attached to those front loops that we left behind here on the bottom of the clown's head. And you can make the collar any color that you'd like, but I like the collar to match the color of the hat. So I'm going to be working with that kind of pastel yellow. So I'm going to get that ready. And we need to make sure we're working so that the clown's head is pointed down, and we're fastening on as if we were pointing it towards the clown's shoes. So I like to fasten on at the corner, so I don't like to fasten on directly between his eyes because there's going to be just a little bit of a jog where the collar meets. So kind of rotate your clown so you're looking at the side of his head. And we're going to go through one of those front loops. So again, going as if we're pointing the top of the hook towards the clown's feet. Then we're going to grab that yellow that we're making the collar out of, and I'm going to wrap it around and pull through that loop. Then I'm ready to start tensioning. And we need to chain 3 stitches, which counts as our first double crochet stitch. And we're going to be placing 4 double crochet stitches in each one of these loops left behind on the clown's head. So just double crochet, we'll yarn over, so wrap the yarn around our hook, go through that same stitch. I'm also weaving my tail in, so lay that tail over the top of your hook too. Yarn over and draw through that loop, then draw through 2, then draw through the last 2. So that's my second double crochet stitch. I'm going to add 2 more to this front loop. And then I'm going to move on to the next and add another 4 double crochet. And we're going to just keep adding double crochet stitches to each of these front loops until we are all the way around. And they'll start ruffling really quickly because we're putting so many of them in such a tight space that it adds that sort of ruffle collar. Like you can see mine are already kind of starting to ruffle now. So we'll keep putting 4 double crochet stitches in every single one of those front loops until we're all the way around. Something I wanted to point out is on the front loops left behind, there is a jog, which basically is because we are making our rows in a continuous spiral. So they don't meet up necessarily. The end of the row comes up a little higher than the beginning of the row. So when you reach that point and you're like, oh, those stitches are a little far apart, so you can see this is the one I've just worked in, and this is the one that I need to go to next, you can just kind of stretch your hook over to that stitch and add your double crochet, and it all kind of works out in the end there. So just something to watch out for as you're working around on the clown's collar. All right, I'm on my last front loop, so let me go ahead and put those 4 double crochet stitches inside. And we are ready to fasten off. So to do that, we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that we made when we started the collar. So find that chain 3, and we're going to slip stitch through the very top one there. And then we're ready to fasten off, so we can take our scissors and cut a medium length tail, no more than 6 inches or so. Pull that last slip stitch through and tighten it down. This is also a good time to cut the tail from when we fastened on. Alright, and that is the ruffled collar added onto our clown. So let's keep working on the body here. So I'm going to go ahead and reinsert into that loop we drew up long. We need to make 4 rounds of just regular single crochet here on the body. So I will see you back here whenever I have finished that 4th round of just 1 single crochet stitch in every single stitch. Alright, so I've just finished that 4th round of regular single crochet, and we need to make 1 more round of single crochet stitches. But we need to add the feet onto this 5th round here. So we're going to work until we are almost even with the first eye. So just 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch until we are about even with the eye that we're going to see once the head kind of turns around here. So I'm going to I like to sort of look and see. I think this stitch here looks like it lines up pretty well with that first eye. So I'm going to pull out the last loop here of this single crochet. And I need to switch to the main body color, which is white. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this last single crochet stitch through with that white color. And then I'm going to carry behind my work for this bobble stitch we're about to make, both the white tail and the pink that I've used. So in this next stitch here, we need to make a 5 double crochet bobble stitch. So to do that, we'll yarn over and go through that next stitch. Make sure you put the pink work yarn that we didn't cut and the white tail over your hook here too. And we're going to yarn over and draw up a loop. Then yarn over and draw through 2. Then we're going to repeat that same process. Yarn over, go through that same stitch, draw up a loop, draw through 2. We're going to keep stacking these mostly finished double crochet stitches until we have a total of 5 of them, or 6 loops total on our hook. So here's my 3rd and my 4th and then my 5th. And once you have all 5 of those and all 6 loops on your hook, we're going to yarn over and draw through all of those loops. And then to close off this bobble stitch, we need to switch back to that pink color. So go ahead and grab that pink that we didn't cut, and we're just going to pull the pink through the white loop on the top of our bobble stitch. Then I like to pull the white working yarn, so not the tail but the working yarn itself, to tighten that loop, the white one that's, you can see that we pulled through. And then I'm going to carry the white yarn and the tail behind me for the stitches in between this bobble and where we need to place our next bobble. It's approximately 4 stitches, but depending on where you put your eyes, it may be a little more, it may be a little less. So I'm going to go through that next stitch and make a nice tight single crochet stitch. And then double check that your bobble is on the surface of our work. Sometimes they bobble towards the inside, so if it does, just push it out with your finger. There's my first single crochet, and my second, my third. Just double check. I need 4 single crochet stitches before I start my second bobble. So I've got my mostly finished single crochet stitch. I'm going to set aside that white tail that I've been weaving in. I don't need to weave it in anymore. Then I'm going to yarn over and finish the single crochet stitch with that white that I've been carrying behind me. Tighten that pink working yarn down. And then make my next 5 double crochet bobble in this 5th stitch away from my first bobble. So there's all 5 of my mostly finished double crochet stitches. I'll yarn over and draw through with the white. And then I'm going to switch to the pink and draw the pink through. And then tighten that white loop down. You can also cut the white yarn here. We're not going to need it anymore. And we'll want to weave it in for the next couple of stitches, however many stitches you have left of single crochet in this round. So just finish the round with single crochet stitches. Alright, so that wraps up the 5th round of single crochet. You can see the feet have been added and mine are even with my eyes. So we are ready to start decreasing here on the clown's body. So we'll begin decreasing by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. So there's my first single crochet. And then decrease exactly like we did on the head. And then we're going to repeat that sequence, but I want to work this row with you because it gets a little weird working over the bobble stitches. So let's work this one together. Alright, so I need to make a decrease here in my pattern. So let me point out what the actual stitches are on our bobble stitch. So if you kind of turn your work, you can see we have 1 really loose stitch here on our bobble stitch. That's the stitch we're going to be working in. And then if you look really closely, there is a tight, it looks sort of like a slip stitch here. That's where we pulled through and started working with pink. We're not going to be working in this, and we actually intentionally pulled that stitch tight so that it wouldn't confuse us as we came across. So I need to make a decrease here, so I'm going to just decrease these 2 stitches together and then continue working in that next pink stitch. So my next single crochet, decrease. So you can see my next stitch here is this white one for the foot, single crochet, and then pink. And then my last 4 stitches, single crochet, and then decrease these 2 together. So depending on where your eyes are placed, It may change where your decreases sit here on this row, so just be careful of that extra loop that sometimes you'll see when you're working over the top of those bobble stitches. We don't want to work an extra stitch or it'll mess up our decreases. Alright, so let's move on to our next round. We'll put one single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round, and then decrease right after. And then we're going to repeat that sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Alright, so before we make our last decrease round, let's go ahead and stuff the bottom of the clown's body as well. And again, I like to pull the clown's body open sort of at the sides. I just think it looks cuter that way. So you might give it a tug to kind of push the stuffing over into the sides of the body. Alright, so once you've done that, we can go ahead and reinsert our hook. And we're ready to make our last decrease round here on the clown. So all we need to do is decrease in each of the 12 stitches remaining. Alright, that was my last decrease, so we're ready to fasten off. So to start that process, take your stitch marker out and then slip stitch through that same stitch it was just in. Then we need to cut a tail to sew with, so 6 or 7 inches. Then we can pull that last slip stitch all the way through and tighten down. Then we'll go ahead and thread that tail we just cut through our tapestry needle. And we're going to use it to sew through the 6 remaining stitches here on the bottom of the clown. And I sew through just the front loop. So we've been working usually through both of these loops here that you can see I've got on my needle. We need to grab just the front loop this time around. So like the loops that we attached onto whenever we were working the collar, we're going to sew through just that front loop, and we're going to continue sewing through all of the front loops of these 6 stitches on the last round. Once you've sewn through all 6 of those stitches, you can pull to cinch the bottom of the clown closed. We'll tie a surface knot, so to do that we're going to loop our yarn over the surface of our work. Then we're going to sew into a little of the fabric of the body and up through that loop that we've made. And by holding that loop close to the body itself, so I put my fingers on it, we'll draw what we've sewn up and slowly tighten into a knot. Then we can weave this tail in by sewing it down into the body and out through a random place. And to be extra secure, I'm going to sew it through a second time. Then once you've done that, you can unthread your tapestry needle and cut that tail close to the fabric of your body to weave it in. And then while we've got our tapestry needle here in our hands, let's go ahead and weave in the tails from the hat and the collar. So I'm starting with the hat. I'm going to thread that through my tapestry needle. And then I like to tack down the back of the hat to keep the brim flipped up. So the way I do that is I'm going to sew through one of the stitches here really close to where that last half double crochet stitch is. And that kind of holds the brim of the hat close to the hat itself. Then we're going to tie another surface knot. So again, just looping that yarn over, sewing through a little of the fabric of the hat and into that loop that we've made. And then draw up and through to tie a knot. And then we'll send that knot down into the hat and out through the body. Then you can unthread your tapestry needle and cut that tail. And then let's get the collar's tail weaved in as well. So go ahead and get that threaded through your tapestry needle. Double check that that slip knot's pulled nice and tight. And then I will run this tail through that first double crochet chain 3 that we made when we started the collar. I kind of run it down that length and into the fabric of the clown's head. And I pull that really gently. If I pull too tightly, it cinches the collar at this spot, which I don't want it to do. So pull it gently so that the collar doesn't get cinched. And then we can tie another surface knot. So again, loop that yarn over itself. So into a little of the fabric of the clown's head and up through that loop. And tying a surface knot keeps it from, when we weave it in, cinching the collar. So then we can just weave this tail straight into the clown's head and cut it short. And that is the clown's body complete. So let's go ahead and work on the arms and get them attached. Alright, so for the clown's arms, we're going to begin with white, and we need to form a magic ring. Then once you have your magic ring formed, we're going to place 6 single crochet stitches inside. Once you have those 6 single crochet stitches made, you can pull the tail of your magic ring. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 6 stitches that we've just made for round 2. Alright, so here's my last single crochet stitch for the arm. I need to switch to the main body color here. So I'm going to start the single crochet, and then I'm going to cut the white. And since my clown's pink, I'm going to switch to pink. Whatever color you're making your clown's body, you'll switch to that color. And I'm going to pull that last stitch, these last 2 loops, I'm going to pull through with this new color. Alright, so I'm ready to go ahead and finish off the arm. So we need to make 3 rounds of single crochet stitches in this new color. So I'm going to make 3 rounds of single crochet in pink. I will see you back here whenever I have wrapped up that 3rd round. Alright, so I just finished that 3rd round of single crochet with the main body color here. And you can see I have all of these tails hanging out of the inside of the arm. I'm going to go ahead and trim these so that they're flush with the top of the arm. They can just hide out inside of the arm. They act as free stuffing. And then we're ready to finish off the top of the arm, and we're going to do that by first taking our active stitch, and we're going to pull it to the right hand or left hand, depending on what hand you use to crochet, corner of the arm. And then we're going to pinch that arm flat. And then we're going to be working through both layers of the fabric of the arm itself, and we're going to single crochet the arm closed. So to do that, I'm going to go through these 2 stitches here. So I pulled this one last stitch to the corner. I'm going to go through these 2 stitches and single crochet through both layers of fabric. I'm going to do that 2 more times. So here's the next 2 stitches together and the last 2 stitches. And that single crochets the arm closed and gives us a nice place to sew and attach the arm to the body. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and cut a tail to sew with 6 or 7 inches. And then we're going to yarn over and pull and then keep pulling through that last loop and then tighten it down. And that is one of the clown's arms. Let's make one more and then get it attached to the body. Alright, so I have both of my clown's arms done, so we're ready to attach them onto the body. And they're going to attach so that this flat side that we made and single crochet together sits right up underneath the clown's collar. So it wedges pretty much directly where the neck of the clown is, so where the head and the body meet. So let's go ahead and thread our tapestry needle with the tail left over from one of those arms. Then we're going to attach it. I like it so that the working yarn, the yarn that I'm using to sew, is at the back of the arm, but it really kind of depends on where you personally prefer it. You can start at the front or the back. It doesn't really matter either way. So I'm going to slot that arm right up underneath the ruff itself and against the side of the clown's head. And then I'm going to just whip stitch it. So I'll grab a little fabric from the clown's neck and then a little from the arm. And just be really careful not to accidentally grab any of the clown's ruff while you're sewing. But I'll whip stitch through each of those 3 single crochet stitches along the top of the arm. And then I like to attach the front of the arm by sewing down and into the body. And then once the arm's attached, we can sew another surface knot. So again, looping the yarn over the surface of our work, sewing down into some of the fabric and up to that loop, and pulling. And then we can weave that tail in by just sewing it into the clown's body, unthreading our tapestry needle and cutting. So that's one arm attached. Let's go ahead and get the other arm attached here on the other side. Alright, so that is the second arm attached to our mini clown. So the last thing we need to do is get the nose attached. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the puff ball that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to add just a little dab of hot glue. And then just carefully affix it to the face, centered in between the eyes, and press. And once it's attached, your clown is complete. So I hope you enjoyed this really quick and easy pattern, and if you wouldn't mind maybe considering giving my channel a subscription. A subscription tells me that you like what I do and you'd like to see more, and I always appreciate the support. Alright, thanks for tuning in, and happy crafting!